Hello and welcome back, future scientists. I'm Mr. K with Mississippi Public Broadcasting. We're going to continue our lecture today talking about Charles Darwin and evolution. And I wanted to go ahead and review today one of the best examples of evolution occurring that we have been able to see in just one person's lifetime. And it has to do with these types of insects called peppered moths. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, and you'll kind of get an idea of how evolution can happen quickly if the conditions are correct. So let's go ahead and hop into this and see what's going on here. So again, this is one of the best examples that humans have of seeing evolution in action. Remember, evolution usually takes place over very, very long periods of time, generation after generation. So not just a year, not just a decade, but hundreds, thousands, even millions of years, evolution will be taking place. One of the best examples of witnessing evolution occur happened during the Industrial Revolution. This is when we started to use coal a lot, right? During the Industrial Revolution, new factories were using coal to drive powerful engines. The coal produced a sooty black residue that would cover houses, trees, and the surrounding areas. Over time, this darkening of the area caused evolution to happen to the moths that were common in this area. So, let's keep that going. So one thing that plays a really big role in the peppered moths and seeing the evolution happen is camouflage. Y'all know what camouflage is. It's hiding, right? One of the best ways a prey can avoid a predator is by hiding or camouflaging itself. Usually, prey have special colors that help them blend in with their surroundings. But what do you think would happen if the colors of the surroundings started to change? If that happened, the prey would be much easier to see and would be eaten at a higher rate. And I wanted to talk about these peppered moths really quick. So peppered moths, there's two variations of color for these peppered moths. They're usually either white or black. And either way, the white ones have a little bit of black peppered in there, and the black ones have a little bit of white peppered in there, okay? Well, they tend to live on ash trees, and ash trees are white. And so the white moths tend to blend in a lot better on those trees. And when they're camouflaged, the birds that ate them couldn't see them as well. But remember, during the Industrial Revolution, when we started to use that coal to run these factories, it was pushing all of this pollution in the air and covering everything and turning everything black. So now you've got a black tree, an ash tree covered in soot, it's black, and you've got a white moth sitting on it. Well, that makes it pretty easy for the bird to see it, right? Because the camouflage isn't working anymore. So what happens in that situation? So like I was saying earlier, the peppered moth, they come in two colors, right? Either white or black. Usually the white colored moths are much more common. And before the Industrial Revolution, most of the moths were white. And the black ones were like a genetic variation. They were very rare. You didn't see a whole lot of them. But during the Industrial Revolution, as the trees the moths lived on were being covered in this black soot, the population of moths slowly started to turn more and more black. So remember, these trees, they're being covered in soot. Now the white moths are very easy to see. And when the birds are hunting, they see those white moths and they're eating all of the white ones. Because the black moths are camouflaged better, the trees are all covered in that soot, you can't really see the black moths very well. They hide and they survive. Well, as the population of the white moths start to go down and the population of the black moths start to go up, we're seeing this evolution happen. Why are those black moths becoming more common? Well, they're the ones that are reproducing more. All the white moths are getting eaten. The black moths survive, and when they survive, they start to reproduce more often. And they're passing their genes on to the next generation. And so every generation we're seeing more and more and more black moths. Today, most of the pepper moths are black. And it's not because, you know, the Industrial Revolution is over. It's not like everything's covered in soot anymore. But that one thing, the Industrial Revolution, caused this evolution to happen, and it kind of stuck around. So here are those two variations. We got the, let's see, this one over here, this is the black peppered moths, and then the other one, that's the white peppered moth. And so the one on the right there, the one that has more of a white color, well, it's blending into the ash tree really well. It kind of looks like the bark. And so the birds weren't able to eat it. But then when you compare it to the one on the left, you can see it's much darker. Now this is the one that is able to hide a lot better once everything is covered in soot. And because it's camouflaged better, the birds aren't able to eat it. Because the birds aren't able to eat it, they're sticking around and reproducing more. And because they're reproducing more, every generation we're seeing more and more black peppered moths. And so now this is the more common peppered moth that we see today, and this one's not as common anymore. Okay? So just to talk about this a little bit more, the white moths were much easier to see on the black bark, right? And so that's why the birds were eating them. As a result, the birds ate most of the white moths, and the black ones were able to survive, and because they survived, they were reproducing more. And as more black moths reproduced, the populations had more black alleles in the gene pool, and so every generation we're seeing more and more black moths, and the white ones aren't as common anymore. So that's just an example of how evolution can happen. I know I've been saying it usually happens over very, very long periods of time, but because this industrial revolution was it made it so easy for the white moths to be eaten by the birds, it just happened at a lot quicker rate. And now today we're mostly seeing black peppered moths. So that's just an example of how evolution can happen, and this example in particular is a lot easier to wrap your head around because it happened at such a faster rate. Okay? So your teacher has some other work for you to do, so make sure to give that your best effort, and I hope everybody has a great day.